Okay, I don't know.
Excellent. Yeah. So,
How are you?
Hello, Joe.
Hi. I'm Joe. I'm from New Zealand, in Tauranga in the Bay of Plenty in New Zealand. This is a very important challenge from my perspective. I just spent some time with a machine learning and data science lady yesterday and was talking to her about Cardano, and she'd actually bought some ADA like 3 years ago but didn't know all of this was happening. So we need to bring the ladies in. Good to be here. Nice to meet you.
Yes, thank you. Hello, Corina.
Hey.
Okay, let's continue with John. John, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Hi, I'm John. I brought Dzhuliana in, so I take responsibility for bringing all the women to Cardano. That's how I take it from now. I run a small dev agency in the UK. That's where I know Dzhuliana from. And I think it's vital to have well-represented people from your, who you associate with, whether that is female or ethnic or, whatever your stance is. It's good to have some strong representation up front in the community that you can, feel drawn to and be able to share with. So yeah, there's been a lot of discussion recently about listening in the community and offering that as a service for people just to be able to share comfortably and openly. And I think this is a really good initiative within that whole move, just making sure that people are well represented, whoever they might be.
Yes, that is very true. Thank you. Next one on my screen is Diana Kovacic.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Dana Kovacic. I have been in the Cardano community since, mid last year is when beginning of last year was when I got involved with Cardano, but the community itself was in the fall. And I have a Catalyst proposal in Fund 7 as well for a Cardano Film Studios. It's in the Miscellaneous Challenge. And I'm just really excited to be here, just learning about, because in my journey, I'm a newbie. And in my journey of proposing and participating in town halls and learning about all the different arms, whether it was Catalyst Circle, Catalyst Swarm, Catalyst School, and then participating and engaging online on Twitter with a lot of the community members and understanding more about Cardano and blockchain in general because of everyone's knowledge. I think across everyone that I came into contact with, there was only 2 women that were really a part of the people who could explain things to me, and the 80% of the rest of the people that I had one-on-ones with were men, and they were great. But I love the thought of being able to participate in a group that brings in more women, especially. I come from the business world, so I've been talking to a lot of people who aren't even involved in blockchain technology yet, and just talking to them about the things that are possible. And there's a lot of people I want to start onboarding and being able to point them in the right directions, especially if they're a woman. Being able to have women mentors is great to make them feel comfortable and just empower this community.
Yes, it's a very valuable feedback, and I'm very happy to see more people thinking that way. Thank you for sharing. Yoram?
Yeah, hi. No, great to organize this breakout room. And how can we change the world if we don't change some of the basic, things that are not equal in the world, right? So, I think it's a must to do Cardano more equal society, more equal. Yeah, basically you have different women, men, different countries. Diversity and so on. So, yeah. One of the basic things to do, and I'm already collaborating. We are collaborating together already, so hopefully we'll be able to do much more together.
Thank you for supporting us and supporting all the women in Cardano, because we're not against men. We need your help definitely. So very valuable. Thank you. Next one is Tommy.
Yeah, hi everyone. It's a bit dark here. I don't know if you can see me if I put the video. I'm trying not to shout because my daughter is sleeping in the next room. She's 3 years old and I'm trying to make a better world for her. So it's a good room to be in. I've been a bit of a feminist for a long time and good to be here.
Thank you. Actually, just to share that in our company, software company, where we match women, our main lead developer, he's extremely passionate about the women, and that is one of the reasons because he has daughters, and he thinks about their future, and changing it that way, it's a totally different way. So, yeah, very much understand your point. Okay, Darlington.
Hi, I'm with Light Donation, and a lot of the work that I do there, I always try to get a lot of different contribution, male, female, and different origins, just because it's education and we're trying to reach a wide set of people. So most of the articles goes between me and then a female editor. In my house, I'm the only guy between the humans and the dog. And then the other reason I came into the space is because I saw the word mentorship too, which I'm very passionate about. And we are currently trying to figure out a mentorship program to run. And right now we have 2 students. And well, 1 guy, 1 girl. So we're doing 50-50 there, which has been exciting. And at Light Donation is three women and 2 men. So that's also been quite exciting. And the reason why we haven't done anything crazy yet, I think, or stupid, it's because of that ratio. So I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to contribute to this effort if I can.
Thank you. Thank you for participating. Nari? Oh,
okay, let me unmute. Yeah, my name is Nori. I'm super happy to be here. I've always tried to be an ally to women and support them whenever I can. And I'm super happy to see so many familiar faces here. The Bridge Builders have started what we're calling the Leadership Academy. And in that meeting, there's like 9 women and 3 guys. And the balance is way different than most Catalyst spaces. And the fact that we're talking about leadership in that space is really amazing. So I know Dzhuliana and Nadia and Karina and a few others are there hanging out, and we're all discussing what leadership looks like. And it's so refreshing to have a space where we can have so many diverse voices and stuff. And I myself really believe in diversity, in gender balance, as well as all sorts of other kinds of diversity. So one of my challenge proposals in Fund 7 is boosting diversity in Catalyst. And so is one of my passions, is to make sure that if we're truly building the new thing and the next thing for the world, that all voices are represented, and we're not focusing on what you usually see in the tech space, which is a sea of white male faces. And yeah, so I really welcome these kind of things, and I'm happy to support in any way that I can.
thank you. Cool. Corina?
Yes, hello, my name is Karina. So it's actually a nice bridge from Nori, because I'm also in the Leadership Academy or leadership group, and I am by myself. I'm a designer. I'm based in Berlin, so I'm mostly working in eco-social design directions, teaching and stuff. So I'm pretty new to Catalyst Network through Felix since probably 2 months now, and still trying to understand, but it's highly exciting. And yeah, like my position to diversity, I'm like, I'm dealing with that thing or this topic since I ever can think. it's just like within the leadership group, we are like having interesting talks about unleadership and deconstructing and unlearn. So I think this is a very nice input, but like we are in between meta level and concrete ideas and opportunities. But what also drives me a bit is like the diversity issue in general. Sometimes I doubt if it's not more talking more in the direction of belonging instead of diversity, because diversity of kind of sometimes manifests the problem in itself. I think it's absolutely great that we are diverse people, but yeah, I can't really, it's not a long thought in my head, but it's like just thinking about the balance of weight in these discussions. So yeah. Hi from Berlin.
Yes, thank you very much for sharing. Very, very well said. Cool. Scott is on the next.
Scott said he had to just step away from the mic, so I don't think he's around.
Okay. Okay, next one is Len.
Hi. I got interested in blockchains when I enrolled in a master's program in 2017. So I have a little bit of a background from that point. But the interesting thing about, let's say, bringing women in was my experience living in Thailand, working and living in Thailand from, let's say, early 70s until early 2000s, in which women were really the vibrant part of the economy, from the level of street hawkers to executives. And then I spent 12 years living in Afghanistan, in which women were not allowed to be in the economy. They had a small little marketplace for maybe 50 women for the whole country, but just a really brutal difference between a society and an economy where women were encouraged and played their normal role, and in another society in which they were forbidden. And I don't know, I saw the second was much less successful society. So I'm interested in the subject.
Very interesting sharing. Very interesting example. Thank you for sharing. AWG.
Hi, I'm joining you from Nairobi, Kenya. And every woman I've ever known has been a leader. I honestly can't think of one who isn't. And so very, very bold people, from my grandmothers to all of their many sisters, all the way down. And so I stand here to represent the women of Eastern Africa. And I hope that we're able to see a lot of their boldness in the future in this space. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for representing and being here. Asia. I hope I pronounce your name properly.
Hello.
Well,
I'm from Ghana. I attached to the weather community in Ghana, and very, very new into the blockchain area. I'm trying to stay back a bit and study to see how I can go into it. My background is conservation, how to protect the environment, especially creating awareness in the youth for them to understand the things that have to do to improve the environment. And yeah, I also like to work with, I'm a gender advocate. I also like to work with women, especially women farmers that have nothing to their name, especially in our country here. So when I saw that women, bring women together, like a professor that decides to try with women, she was helpful. So that's me. If you're from Ghana, West Africa.
I think the noise around you is quite stronger.
So you didn't hear anything? Oh, sorry. I said
better.
I said I'm Afia from Ghana, and I'm from the WADA team. My background is into conservation, educating environmental awareness creation, educating the youth especially. And I'm also a women's advocate when it comes to women's farmers, especially cocoa farmers in Ghana. So when I saw the women's thing, I decided to join. I'm fairly new into blockchain. I'm still learning and getting used to all the blockchain activities. So I normally stay at the background to still learn so that I don't fall short. Thank you.
Thank you. I think you're on the right place because that's why we are here to learn more about blockchain, to understand more about technology, because technology is a huge part from our present and will be in our future. So you're in the right place. Thank you. Is there someone else? And I think that's it. Okay, so why? So my questions are more like why you personally think bringing more women right now at this moment in Cardano is important, and why do you think so? Like why? So the reasons are so obvious. Like let's diverse, like to be the same as how worlds outside of Cardano looks like. But why do you think it's important? Like someone else, Diana.
I forget who was speaking because I wasn't looking at my phone at the time. I'm getting ready for a meeting while I'm listening in here, and the gentleman who was talking about when he lived in Afghanistan, and how women don't really have that many rights. I mean, they especially with what's going on right now, but I think it's especially important for, I mean, this new technology, whoever is the one to embrace, you know, women and empowering women and being able, not just for diversity's sake, like in Karina's, what she was saying, like not just for diversity's sake, but because we have talent and we're able to contribute, like, and then have that, like, these things are so important to show as examples to, you know, the world that women are important. And not only that, but that, you know, we are welcoming and willing to teach people who need help. There's actually one of the blockchain advisors for our project was talking about a woman from Afghanistan, actually, who she was able to invest in Bitcoin. She was taking some of the money she was making and invested into Bitcoin while she was still in Afghanistan over the years. And the women that she works with, she was helping so that their husbands didn't have access to their money. And then when all of this went down and they were able to escape out of the country, they had money to be able, they weren't left with nothing. And actually some of those refugees are here in the state that I live in Nevada. And so I just think it's important to showcase not only, you know, what blockchain can do outside of a store of value, you know, because it's good for that too, but like helping on board women who need help or who need a means to make a way for themselves, additional avenues to doing that with blockchain if they're already on board, you know. So I think it's extremely important. I love that. I love the gentleman's story. And Karina, I totally agree with what you were saying. I'm totally in line and understand what you were saying. So I just wanted to let you know that. Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you for sharing. Len, do you want to?
Yeah, the point I wanted to make was not for diversity's sake, but just comparing two societies, two economies, one in which women were essentially not present, and another one, which is not just Thailand, all of Southeast Asia, where women were very important. The societies were so much better off, so much more healthy, so much more vibrant, anti-fragile. And so I think for our groups, our Cardano community, I think that everything will go a lot better if we can somehow encourage more women to join and participate. Again, not for the purpose of numbers, of diversity, for the purpose of quality of our community.
Yes, I think that is, I totally agree with your point. I don't think it's about the numbers. In my personal perspective, is like you having a woman in the space, it is a different perspective, and we need different perspective, and that is inevitable. Like you cannot put yourself in a woman's position, and having different perspective makes you be more objective, which makes you helps you make better decisions. So yeah, John, do you want to share something?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. The governance systems that we currently have in real life, IRL, are mainly developed around some very competitive notions, which are, which gives the hierarchies that have developed. Not that we don't need hierarchies, because they're natural as part of life in many different spheres, but it's given a specific kind of bent to the way things evolve and where we've got to, really. And naturally, women more than guys, it's one of those traits that we have. We don't all have the same muscles, but we have a different set of emotional muscles, and those are needed to reshape governance. So as well as bringing ladies on who can benefit from the technology and all that it provides, we also need to reshape the way governance works as well. I don't know whether you were available or around in last week's town hall, and I'm sure that it's a little bit controversial. I know the circles have been talking about it and various different people, but there was a gentleman on talking about Rick's picks and talking about all of the technical proposals that need to be upvoted because they're the most necessary, and that's where the gap is, and that's what needs to be done first. So let's make sure all of the community money goes towards all of those technical proposals that have been put up. And I would, as well as Rick's picks, I'd like Joe's flow, which is that we need a flow of humanity, and that's one of the gaps. And women bring that flow of humanity into what is the actual intention of making all of these coins or tokens or everything else circulate. What is the point of it if there is no humanity in it? And our relationships need to be better with each other in order to have good governance. So all of those challenges, whether it's the Latin challenge, whether it's the women's challenge, all of those are about building great relationships. And that's one of the biggest gaps that there is that has affected the way the world has progressed and where we are now. So if anybody wants to stand for circles, I wish I had time. I'm working towards having more time for Catalyst, but the more women that we can have in the circle, in community governance oversight, all of those auditing areas to make sure that the humanity stays in and it doesn't become another tech bro project to rearrange the world, the better. Sorry, that was a bit of a rant, wasn't it? I apologize.
Awesome. Can I comment?
Please do.
Yeah.
Just being in the CA, what are they? Community advisors discussions lately has been horrible. I just wish that there was more diversity there because it's just such a cockfight, and I'm so tired of it. I don't want to listen to it anymore.
That's really sad to hear, and that's exactly the problem, right? Is as soon as the soon as there's no diversity in the room and it becomes a cockfight, the good people who bring the humanity leave because they don't want to be part of it.
And I've been very close to leaving.
Yeah, that's a shame. Stick in there, Tommy, please. And maybe we come and join.
Go on.
1 second, yeah. I mean, it's been out. Okay, so we see it, right? The men's make a mess, and then we need the Melanie to come and fix it, right? But for me, it's not a question why we need women. I mean, it's even it's really basic, and definitely, again, if you want to change the world, we cannot do it keeping the old systems. I mean, we can have new models, new coins, as Joe said, and so on. But I mean, it's have to work. We need to change if we want to make this world better. I mean, there's so many challenges. And actually, I traveled a lot in Indonesia, in India in the last years, and I must tell you that women taking their more and more positions. Very positively surprised. I mean, I didn't expect that in Indonesia, really leadership positions, more and more. Just need to continue and push it. I mean, to make it. So yeah. I mean, it's obvious for me why. I mean, there's no question why it doesn't work now. I mean, we see why it doesn't work now. So many countries. Anyway, so Melanie, and I'm spending a lot of time with Melanie every day, so I get some good energy from her.
Corina, did you want to share something?
Yeah, something not really like concrete, but a bit fuzzy, and also what Joe what after Joe, what she said and everything. But like one question which drives me around is like really like this what has manifested and what we've learned so far. And this is like also like to like I think like everybody is carrying some male and female percentage in and himself and whatever, but like the thing is like how to understand that still like women are so like not privileged in this whole infrastructure and systematic, and I'm like that we have to understand that we have that stuff in us since since we are born, and so it's like a long way to go, but like I'm just like like getting a funding VC stuff, like it's always like mostly white old or older men or young men, and so I'm like thinking we are super privileged, and I also want to discuss these privileged situations we are in, and like I wonder how like Catalyst Cardano community, which is a decentralized community which has the chance to like really rethink these structures and power relations. So I'm like sometimes I'm curious, like, okay, are there any like ideas for actions, activities? I don't want to force it, but I sometimes wonder what is needed, and not just to talk about diversity, then also like to do it. And Dzhuliana, I just saw your project today, one down, one up or something, and it's beautiful, and yeah, great to see these projects in that community. Yeah, that was just.
Thank you for sharing. Actually, this is what we focus on one of One Down. It's building the deep relationships, because having deep relationships it's a different thing. You can connect with a person on a different level, and we think and see and believe that is a very important part of a community. Natalie, you want to share something?
I hope something cohesive comes out of me here, because there's like so many things I'm inspired by things that have been said. But I think for me, I guess the fact that we're all here really shows that this needs to happen, right? It's not a question of whether or not, and I think it's a question of how and what purposes can we serve, and how can we make it really meaningful? You know, I think to Tommy's point, I saw in the chat about which if you don't have thick skin when you go into the CA Telegram group, you're gonna come out with thick skin or like not go back in. So I think I say that to say, coming into this environment, into Catalyst, we need to make sure that the people have a foothold, especially if they are not seeing themselves as comprehensively as others. And I think for the purpose of making sure that we have I think Dana said earlier, onboarding, that we have a place where people can come and get a sense of what this is about, and be able to be supported and stay in it long enough that they can contribute meaningfully, because it takes time to understand how you can contribute meaningfully. And like all of you, I'm sure have, I have a good collection of friends and women in my life who I explained blockchain from the context of the Africa Special, which, if you're not familiar with that, the Africa Special was by Cardano by IOHK a while back, that explained the actual potential for what this technology could do. And when you tell that story, that makes a lot of difference to the people in my circles anyway. So we need to understand what is important and valuable to people as they come in, so that they can be here long enough that they can contribute meaningfully in some kind of a way. Mentorship is another thing, because it's hard. It's hard. Like I've you know, a lot of these conversations in certain of these groups, like the CA group and the VCA, that we're solving big problems. These are big problems, and people are super passionate about it. And not everyone is like very kind about how they're expressing that, and that, you know, could be improved certainly. But a greater thing is, you don't want the people, it takes so much to bring someone into an environment that you don't want those people to be immediately turned off in, because they're not going to come back for a long time. Like anytime you don't have a good experience the first time that you get somewhere. So I'll just add to this that, you know, as Nori mentioned, and I'm just thrilled to be in this Leadership Academy discussion. And I know I've thought about it afterwards, after the first couple of meetings we had, that I don't think I've ever been in a group of this many women talking about leadership. It challenges me so much within myself to not slip into the biases and the standards that I have about how things could be done, and to let even these conversations be held differently, and our whole perspective on the definitions of things be thought differently. And so as much as we need a supportive community, we also need to figure out how to help each other get out of our comfort zones and try out things that we haven't tried out, and think differently than we have, because that, you know, we are collectively responsible here for something that's much greater than all of us and what we think about doing. So the last thing I'll say is that I don't know if the way is to be like, all that said, I need all those things as an individual. And I also personally don't want to be welcomed into something because I'm a woman, right? Because I feel as a person, like I have all these things to contribute. And if that contribution includes, I'm also a woman, and that encourages more women, that's really important to me. But I don't want to be a quantitative component of something, if that makes sense. So I think approaching all of this delicately with that in mind, maybe is something to churn about a little bit.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing. Actually, something that comes to my mind, why I started this discussion, why I asked you, why do you think it's important, is because of last week's town hall presentation, as Joe mentioned, because I've been with this community for a couple of months now, and I'm very surprised with everyone in the community. And when I saw this last week, the suggestions that's bringing more diversity into women down, and I was very surprised. It didn't feel very good in the beginning, but then I started to think, okay, why, what is, I wanted to start to understand what is his point, like why he suggested that there should be a reason, like maybe there is something more important like security, technology stuff that would be more important than community. And I started to start different discussions and to understand why this guy is thinking that is now is not the time. Maybe just trying to understand different angles. Yes, Diana.
Yeah, I think, I mean, my perspective, you know, I'm a woman as well, and I think that what happened last week actually just from my perspective, that I don't know anybody else's opinion, but I just think it needed to be explained a little bit more about the example instead of like the content of what he was doing, because here's my fear. I will fight for anyone's ability to have their own opinion. And and like he said, like, I don't think he was meaning to say it's not important. The way that it was presented, as far as like people were thinking, oh, this is the example and everyone should look at how he's done it and maybe follow it that way. Like, I can understand how people would take it and think that that's wrong. And definitely that perspective is not the most desirable one. But as far as like everybody having their own, you know, it's okay if he thinks, because maybe he is more technically minded. He's one individual. And from my perspective, I think it's okay for everyone to have their own opinion. It's just those who like to be presented in the open forum like that, maybe it just needed to be explained a little bit more, that he was more showing an example of how, you know, people can help the community, you know, vote without those being like sanctioned, or, you know, this has been approved message by Catalyst. Because I think the more that we as women just, you know, make our own lists or do our own things, like, we're going to have, our voice will be, you know, heard, and no one is going to do the work for us. No one is going to make, you know, someone else think that like women in this community needs to be focused on. Like, we got to do the work. So, you know, that's why I'm so glad that we're all here talking about it. And like to Karina said, like, putting action behind it, you know, how are we doing it?
Karina, do you want to share?
Yeah, oh, damn. I actually was part of this town hall where IOG said this and that, but what I was following afterwards, I don't know if I got it right, but this is what we talked about as well in the leadership unleadership group. It's like using power, right? And like, if you are using power, and which might be like a weird hybrid of commercial, political, whatever, I don't know. This is, yeah, I think this is like something should talk about, and like how it shifts and builds actually walls between like for access, like and this, I think, is difficult to say it's just sharing an opinion which is colored and empowered by something. I don't know. I might get it wrong now, but this is like what I think this should be on the table a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. AWG?
It's a very complicated discussion, isn't it? And I have faced both men like the ones sitting in this room, who are the most friendly and the most welcoming and the most grown, if I may say grown. And I've also in this community faced less grown. Oh dear. Anyway, I did not say immature, but I meant that. But anyway, younger humans. Anyway, for example, last Saturday at Eastern Town Hall, we were talking about, I was promoting the women's proposal, or the challenge in Fund 8. And male human put his hand up and said, I think that having a women-funded proposal or challenge setting is discriminatory to men. And boy, did that room blow up. And it was just, and so it was fascinating because not many men will actually say that outwardly. However, out of 100 people, how many men are in this room to have this conversation? And so it's a tricky one because I think it comes from a very long history. I think as little girls, we're not taught to look at computers in the same way, you know, like as parts, or we're not taught to look at the foundations of computers as, you know, building parts as such. Mathematics is not encouraged in us. And the building blocks just, they keep leading up, you know, thinking and, you know, the education system all across the globe is not really focused so that women can end up in a space like this. And so the women who do end up here have fought a really hard battle and have been through something, or, you know, they've, and so I don't know, I think it's a really complicated scenario. Why aren't there more women here in Catalyst? I think I'd love to ask, what do you guys think?
This is the beginning. It needs effort.
Yeah, and I just think like women in the crypto space in general, you know, I'd be interested, I don't know if anyone knows these statistics, but I'd be interested to know, you know, what is the percentage of women in crypto in general, and see how, you know, we stack up against that. Just because I think it's low across the board.
In Ethereum, they're less than 5%. I've checked their statistics. And Ethereum is the biggest one, from what I know. Darlington?
Yeah, thanks. I'll respond to AWG and then the previous prompt. I think there aren't as many women in crypto and blockchain and Cardano because of the way we talk about crypto and blockchain and Cardano, just the language. The only reason I was able to get my co-founder to come on board is after talking to her about it 300 hours, to the point where she can take it in and start saying it in her own words. And the thing she was saying made sense to me, but there was no way I could ever say those words out of my mouth, right? And so it's just the way we talk about crypto right now is just, it's not, it doesn't carry humanity with it often. I don't know what it carries most of the time, but definitely not that human piece of it. And then with the important piece, for me personally and the work I'm doing, why is it important and why it's been more and more of a priority for me is because I have data that it produces better work. In the class, when I'm mentoring my students, the guys ask very different questions than the girls, like very different questions. But they're both, you know, cross-pollinating each other, which is really nice, and cross-pollinating me too, and helping me with my growth and development and how to think about information and how to present it. So I don't, you know, have a research training or background to suss out why that is, why there are different questions, besides the fact that they're different people, right? It goes beyond the fact that they're just different people, just the whole category of questions is different between my male and female students. But the result, having both sexes in the same space, having the same conversations, is just better quality. So the cohort that I'm teaching right now is my 4th cohort. And it's less stressful, there's less tension, like people, it's just been the best so far. And I think it is because of that cross-pollination that's happening between the two sexes or gender, I guess sexes. I don't know what that term is these days, but yeah, that's my two Lovelaces. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for sharing. Yes, be careful about these terms. I think it's a crazy world. AWG, you're the next one.
Oh, sorry, let me put my hand on.
Okay, Yaron.
Yeah, so I actually see all of that as an opportunity. Again, if we think on, every 20 years ago, we had the internet, we started, right? And we could have an opportunity to change the way we do things, and we actually didn't do it eventually. And we have now an opportunity to change the way we do things with this new technology. And at Cardano for Climate, we defined that our goal is to impact the blockchain of Cardano, that it will include climate change with everything it does. Okay, and because we see it's an opportunity for Cardano, because there are a couple of things that are going to change. And I think, speaking about women and this, I think it's a huge opportunity actually for Cardano. If from early stages we will, build it in the right way, which is more inclusive and more sharing, and I think we'll build a much stronger, we'll bring really a blockchain that will change the world as we want to change it. Because otherwise, I don't know, I think that it will increase a lot the resilience and interaction, and we will just, because otherwise what we felt after last week, what's new, right? We have this all over, right? That we are not happy, and different types of governance and so on. That's kind of was the feeling after last week. So Cardano and Catalyst now is going to the mainstream. Next time we'll bring someone from Fox News to speak. I don't know, in town hall or whatever. So I don't know, that was a little bit my feeling. I highly respect Rick and his opinion. But so I think we have an opportunity to build from the ground, from early stage, something that is new and strong. And let's do it. So let's do what we need to do. How we bring more inclusive, how we do it in the right way, how we change the conversation, and not having a conversation that is frightening. Anyway, so that's my line of thinking, and that's what we try and do in Cardano for Climate, and we can try and do also here.
As the key principles in software development, put the right foundations, and you don't have to worry about it. But having the right foundation, having the right structure when building a software is it's a crucial thing. So you have to start early, build the right stuff, and yeah. Nerd?
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this conversation, and I talk to my wife a lot about these kind of issues. She's very passionate about gender issues, and somebody else mentioned that we shouldn't be working towards quotas or numbers, and diversity kind of gets in that way. But I do think it's a useful canary or metric that tells us that there's a problem. When you show up at a meeting over and over again and there's 1 or 2 women and 30 men, that kind of starts to signal some things that there are systemic and cultural biases and mechanisms. And I'm just going to call it the patriarchy is in full swing, that is for some reason preventing full participation of women. And I think it's a difficult place to look for a lot of men. And there was mentioned, Angela joked about the maturity level, but there is like I would call it male fragility around the topic in certain areas where we just don't want to look at it. We say it's fair, we don't discriminate, but we don't see the built-in systemic biases that disadvantage women from the get-go. And I think those are the areas we need to actually address and talk about and get uncomfortable a little bit as men, and maybe as women, to just realize that those exist, because they have to. There's so many invisible things affecting the dynamic that I think we need to make them visible so that we can actually consciously see them and take steps to correct things. But Yes, but I don't know what those steps are, but I think these conversations are helpful to bring people into a room and start talking about potential things. But yeah, and it's not just gender issues. There's all sorts of issues there that are similar. Like in Canada, we're looking at Indigenous issues and reconciliation with the tribal school system, and not the tribe, the residential school system, and just looking at the painful history of things like that. And it's just, yeah, there's things that we need to look at and get uncomfortable with. And I'm happy there's a room here where we're willing to do that.
Yes, as it says, become comfortable being uncomfortable. Oh, something like that. Nadia?
I'll just throw in like briefly that I think that's how I just agree with and vibe with so much of what's being said, and also not everything. And I think that that's really important. And also that we should be a little pragmatic about things in terms of like, what can we throw at the wall and see if it works, you know, because these discussions are good. And I think we really get a sense of the broader perspectives, and that we must do. And also, I think we have the opportunity to say, well, what are some things we could actually experiment with, even in the short term, that we individually could experiment with. So we have some, not necessarily that has to be a whole proposal drawn up, although ultimately that as well. But for groups that come together and we get this emphasis on this as an opportunity, you know, is it creating some kind of a like onboarding for people new to Catalyst, right? So maybe it's not onboarding for women, but I think that women probably are, I would guess, more likely to do something like that, to be able to find their way into something, right? Than maybe someone who comes with a lot more technical knowledge or for a different purpose. So, and then another element of this is, I think generally we're not as in technical fields as much, just statistically. And so population wise, when we come into something that's building a technology and a governance around it, that population is not as represented. And so the work is much different to increase that population. It doesn't naturally migrate itself there. So this is just me saying, like, let's also throw out some ideas maybe for some things that, you know, some of us have been here a long time, some not as long, like myself. So what are some things that you guys have seen work or not work, and what, you know, maybe a little bit of that too.
Yes, thank you. I absolutely agree with that. And I think it's like looking back to history. And if you look back to ancient history and like all the rights that women had through history, it makes sense that we are not equal right now because of the history, but that's facts. You cannot change that. It's a problem, as Nori said, that we just need to rise right now and spark more conversations. But yeah, and it's that's how things are. Scott, do you want to share and to introduce yourself? And I'm very happy to join good conversation.
Yeah, I'm curious. Oh, I've been in Cardano for about, I don't know, 7 months. But I'm curious, and I don't want to I might sound ignorant in this and asking this question, but aside from what Nadia just spoke about, I mean, what is seen as like the barriers for women or any other ethnic culture, you know, to I don't know, to come into Cardano? You know, and I'm not talking about like the issues on Telegram where there might be some harassment or something like that. I'm aware of that because I wasn't part of it, but I'm aware of the situation based upon speaking to, I think it was Steve. I think Catalyst Circle, I don't know if it's Catalyst Circle that had an issue on that as well. I think it was brought up in one of their meetings. So I'm just curious, and I'm not trying to play devil's advocate here. I'm genuinely want to know, and you know, if I can help, you know, broaden people's perspectives on things. I mean, nothing that'd be beneficial. And I agree, there should be more inclusivity in everything in Cardano.
Thank you for this question. I think it's a great to have, you want to have different opinions. I don't think we all have to agree on one point, on one topic and just follow this. It's totally, for me, it's crucially actually important to have different opinions and to have that kind of questions. So yeah, Corinne, do you want to answer?
Sorry, was Angela before me, but I don't know.
I think I saw your hand, but
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe I just go ahead. Like, I don't know, I'm just pretty new to Catalyst, and I met Felix like in real at a conference and on stage, and he talked about Catalyst, and I was like, wow, just got in touch with blockchain and all this stuff half a year ago. So I'm a pretty greenhorn. So, but yeah, like, to be honest, like, to understand Catalyst is quite a thing, and I'm still trying to do it and to understand, okay, it's decentralized, and you need, it's not that you have to have the technical skills, but to have the capacity to understand how community work is in virtual life is quite a thing. On one hand, then the interface is not really nice of Catalyst in general. Is like, there's not a, yeah, what's part of the game, it's decentralized, but it's like you're used to very smooth applications, and which explains you very fast and gives you understanding and a confidence, and it takes quite a lot of time, and you don't know why you're investing your time for something you don't know yet. Like, and you're critical about it because the whole crypto world is critical somehow. I'm just saying, like random thoughts, but I think this was my process, and where I'm like, I would love to have like a super visual ecosystem map of relationships, the decision-making process, and communities, projects of Catalyst, which is not possible, I know, but that would be lovely. Like, kind of at one point, yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, brain dump. Okay.
It's totally fine. John, I think I missed you. Do you want to join?
Yeah, I've been listening in. It's really good conversations. I think there's lots of different reasons and perspectives, and the biggest thing to me around the maybe disparity we've got at the moment within Catalyst is probably like Nadia says, there is a disparity within the tech space, in that it's very biased towards men at the moment. I don't know whether that is just to the difference between men and women and the way brains work and the physiology involved, or whether it's just to do with the environment that we've inherited and we're still living in from days past. But I think what's really important is that within Catalyst in particular, because it is not a pure tech space, it's a governance space. It's about creating frameworks for the way that humanity can work in the future. It's crucial to get high representations of all genders, sexes, and like going back to like Rick's picks again, that I value Rick's opinion on a lot of things, but he's very much based in knowing how to achieve success in the framework that he works in, which is an unfriendly framework for the way we want to be in the future. There's a better alternative that we can build than the Fortune 500 company structures that we've got at the moment. Although Tommy's stats are interesting about the fact that we do have diversity and inclusion departments now in the top 500s. It's good to see things are changing, but traditionally the way you succeed in that environment is to be the loudest, brashest, smartest. Bullies climb up the corporate ladder very, very successfully, and that's not a healthy way to grow society. I was touching on as well, going back to my childhood, in that I was at a boys' school for a portion of my education, and I got myself out of that because I realized how unhealthy it is just to isolate. Back to what Darlington was saying, it's unhealthy to isolate groups of society for periods of time, particularly when you're learning stuff together, because there are maybe technical advantages to having the distraction of hormones removed from the picture during portions of your life, but it doesn't breed healthier humans at the end of that process. And ultimately, that's what we've got to do. We can't have just highly performant coding machines who don't know how to talk to the opposite sex. We've got to have functions, in every environment. We've got to be highly functional environments, and Catalyst should be reflecting that rather than just furthering or perpetuating. It should actively work against isolating groups and pockets of successful types. And so removing the bias in technology by bringing more women into it, is definitely the way we should go. And just as well, going back to my original thought, was actually when you step into any room, if all the faces in the room are unlike yours for any reason, then it's very hard to be able to perform at your best. So if a woman walks into an all-male room, it's very difficult for her to be able to be treated as everyone else in the room, because everyone's of one particular type versus the other, and that's just not healthy. So for us to be able to perform our best, we need to have a decent mix where every the playing fields are all leveled and you're feeling comfortable, being for all sorts of different reasons. So this is our opportunity within Catalyst to create new structures and new balances of populations, pockets within populations. Balancing those types is something we can actually build in. We can design it because we've got this new young environment that we can work with. So that should be definitely high on the agenda. And when we see a problem and an inequality of women to male faces, then we should work to fix that, and choose to work that way, rather than just hopefully it'll change. Got to make steps towards it.
Yeah, and actually also to add this and answer Scott's questions, like what stops us. Me, from my personal experience, is confidence, and from actually what I see in other women. And as John said, like being the only, for example, woman in a room with PHP developers, you people kind of notice you, like you're a different human there, and then you don't have that confidence and encouraging women. So because it takes me so much time to build my confidence just to show up and to speak whatever I have to say. So that personally stops me, and what we see in our community, what stops other women, they just don't have the confidence. And from my point of view, that is historically encoded and how we grow. AWG. Is your name Angela? All right.
So yeah, let's talk about that. I joined the Plutus Pioneer Program in June. And that was a pretty crazy experience because when I appeared as Angela, people had questions. They're like, who are you? What's your name? Where'd you come from? Why are you here? How'd you get here? And I personally, as an introvert, was not willing to expend that much energy explaining myself every Tuesday. And so I chose to go by AWG. And my experience with that was that people approached me and called me bro. And when I was a bro, they were really casual and cool and quite okay with that until it came to business. And they're like, put on your camera, who are you? And they're like, wait, how'd you get here? Who let you in? So that's been a really interesting experience where I feel like I can't win. If I go in as Angela, I am either feeling vulnerable or like prey, or, feeling like they have too many questions, like a drill sergeant asking, giving marching orders, and I'm like, I don't owe you an explanation about who I am or where I came from. And so that's a whole thing. And then when I come in as AWG, they don't ask me questions until it's time to put your camera on, at which point I've experienced from the brightest in our community being removed from proposals that were going to win as soon as they find out who I am. And so there's no way there probably is, to find feedback about what is it that happened when I put on my camera that made you refuse to do business with me, when previously you were okay with me if I happened to be a bro. And so that's been an experience that's happened in Fund 6, funnily enough, in 4 different proposals. And so we're talking about my competence. The fact that I finished the Produce Pioneer program and the fact that the bros were cool with me until they weren't cool with me, that's been an experience. There's also a very demanding way that they demand that I show yourself immediately. And so I've chosen to hide. And so for hiding, I also have to pay that price. And so it's been an experience. It's been quite interesting. And the place I eventually found home, if I can call it that, was certainly not Western Town Hall, it's Eastern Town Hall, where every one of the people had struggled to get up at like 4 a.m. to come to Western Town Hall, and had struggled to stay up, and had been treated with less than politeness. And it's just a different experience. And I'm not sure if my experience speaks to everyone. And I'm not saying that it's a terrible place. Clearly, I survived it. But it's not an easy place to be as a female human. And it's certainly not an easy place to be as a Black female human. And that's just a comment on the whole thing.
That is a very important comment, very important opinion, because that's why we are here, to hear the different opinions and to hear voices as you, and to see from your perspective from as much as we can. Absolutely, thank you for sharing, and I hope to see you very often here, and to see you and to talk more about this. Yoram, do you wanted to share something?
Just saying, bro, that I kind of want to see your face now. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, that's cool. Yoram, you're muted.
Yeah, it was amazing. Thank you for sharing. It's very important to talk about it. I mean, also in the, we spoke a lot about what happened in the Catalyst Telegram. Then when we had a chat about it, actually, came some other stories about people not responding nice to women and so on. So it was not related at all to this discussion. So the subject of the discussion we had was around that, but then came a lot of other things that I was not aware. So yeah, definitely need to speak about that. But my comment before was that we have a chance to create a new type of solution. It doesn't refer to how many women today are in the proportion the population are software developers, if it's 5% or 2% or 10%. We have an opportunity today to make sure this ecosystem is built better with strong foundation, right? Because still in town hall today, we have 140 people only, right? So there's no reason that there will not be 30, 40, 70% women, right, in this town hall, because it's still very small number of people. And we need to do it now somehow. So we need to, my suggestion is to work together and find the ways that we can change this the way it is today in terms of the numbers. And again, it's not 50%, it's 40, 60, it's whatever it is, but it's and let's try to do that, because it's early enough. In 1 year, 2 years, when it will be already, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of people more, and might be even more challenging to do it. But if we do it now and we welcome more inclusivity and we build the onboarding, onboarding is a challenge for everyone. Also for me, it took me a few months to get onboarding to Catalyst until I understood what's going on. So, but if we make this process already very welcoming and better, and focus maybe, so in this case in women, I mean, so my point is that we have a chance to do it now. And this is why I do a parallel to climate change, which is completely different. I mean, it's also kind of the elephant in the room, right? We have a chance to do it now, because if we became blockchain that focus only on profit, like Solana, so then it's too tough to include other stuff, right? But now we can build the foundation differently, and so yeah, that's my point. And let's try to find out to do it, how not to accept anymore, you know, that people treat bro Angela in this way, right? And that people will not speak correctly in chat. I mean, yeah, and welcome more women, you know. Anyway, so we have the opportunity to do it now, so let's do it. That's my point. Otherwise, it will be too late, and we will not build what we want.
Yes,
Anyway.
thank you. I think I don't know if Angela answered your question, Scott. What are the blockers for women, and I don't know, what do you think?
Was that addressed to me?
Yeah, I was wondering. I just came back to your question, like because your question was like what we think are the blockers.
Yeah, no, I agree with her. I mean, I wasn't part of that group that she was in, but I was just typing now that I see that a lot in Discord. And it doesn't necessarily have to be like an IOHK Discord, it's just any Discord channel. You'll see like people might have initials, or like, for instance, Tommy. Like Tommy is it's a multi-gender, and I'm not picking on you, Tommy. I'm just the name itself is multi-gender, but you'll see people say, "Hey, bro," and everything is bro. And it's, I mean, that came to my attention like a couple of days ago when I was on Discord and I saw that. I'm like, how do you know this person is a male? I mean, the person can be transgender, whatever. It could be a female, it could be transgender, and they could be anything. You don't know if it's a male or not, but I do understand that. But then I'll go with another question on top of that, is like, aside from myself and aside from me, you know, speaking out to other people about this issue, I mean, I personally don't use bro unless I know the person that, you know, in detail, like I know who I'm talking to. But how do we address this issue? Like how do we solve this problem? I mean, I'm one person, everybody else in here is one person. Yes, we're part of a community and we can have these discussions, but like overall, I mean, it does need to be solved, but you know, I don't know. I guess I'm at a loss for words as far as how you solve it in particular, but I mean, I'll do my job in that. So I'll shut up now. So everybody else can talk.
It's a very, very good point. If I can quickly add here, from my perspective, how we encourage that is like just showing the examples, like showing inspiring, like how you have someone there that speaks to their voice. Like, for example, with my name, I have always the question, like people always struggle to pronounce my name, like so, and I just don't care. And as Angela said, like I'm also an introvert, and I had struggled with that in the beginning, but at some point I said to myself, okay, I don't care anymore. And it was and just showing by examples. When you see that someone else, that this woman made it, okay, I can do that as well. And this is my thinking. Yeah. Darlington, do you want to share something?
You have also the comment that we have to leave in 40 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll be brief then. I've had the experience that people either think I'm a girl or I'm white when communicating electronically until we meet. And sometimes they respond with female pronouns, and it's just fun.
They got that way wrong.
Okay, goodbye.
I want to say thank you for the room. Thank you for the space, for the
Juliana.
breakout room. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Nor do you want to?
Our apologies. It seems like somebody closed one of the breakout rooms with a big red button.
I was making a brilliant point.
So Felix will help us to reopen the breakout rooms so that we can get right back in. Apologies.
Thank
for
you
the
so much. Thank you.
I thought only Twitter Spaces rugged. I didn't realize.
We were the OG ruggers.
Let's just combine all of them.
Yeah.
Just a reminder to stretch.
Maybe we needed a break. Yes, exactly.